It's finally that time of the year again. Oscar season. Nominations just came out, and it seems like the Academy is improving. 16 nominations for Sinners. But as good as the nominations sound this year, the Academy has a historic record of snubbing films. Such as last year when Challengers received 0 nominations and Amelia Perez received 13. Even this year with Chase Infinity getting snubbed from Best Actress in place of Kate Hudson for Song Sun Blue. And one of my favorite films from this year, No Other Choice, received 0 nominations. The point is, the Academy is never going to get it right because someone out there, including myself, will disagree. I've decided to say, screw my Oscar predictions. I'm making my own award show with new categories. Not only will I recognize the best films of the year, but highlight the horseshit that has smeared the big screen. So there will be the best and worst categories, and in each category there will be between 3 to 5 nominees. I will list them off, explain them briefly why I picked them, and then reveal my choice. If you disagree with my picks, explain why down below. I guess we'll just get right into it. Every award show must start off with a bang. I haven't done this before. I don't know where to start. Should I do a little dance? This is not working. So far the show isn't looking too pretty, so why not talk about the worst looking films of this year? I have to give it to 2025 movies. They looked better than other years past. At least out of the 50 films I saw, there were only a few eyesores. If the trailers looked bad, I most likely avoided it. Oh, the effects that Godzilla XCOM will have on you. What the hell? But in this category, there were 3 films that I felt that deserved recognition for how atrocious they looked. It does not mean they're the worst movie of the year, but yeah, they're probably in the list for worst movie of the year. A Minecraft movie was one that I felt like I needed a Kirkland-sized bottle of Tylenol when I finished watching it. I appreciate that they used practical effects, but the mixture of live action and animation did not work for me. The creatures designed sort of resembled the video game, but then it had this uncanny finish to it, and their faces just looked really deformed. That Unreal Engine CGI did not cook. It feels as flat as a wood plank and should have gone fully animated. Captain America Brave New World looks like a Temu coffee table compared to the other films. The Valium technology needs to be locked up in the raft. As you can tell, the whole film was shot in Kevin Feige's backyard, and if you love that gray powder that we call the HDR color grading, it's going to be infested in your soul when you're done watching. But the look of it lacks any soul, and they tried to touch it up because of feedback from other Marvel films, but it ended up having digital grain mixed with flat lighting. Not good. The Running Man is another case of being a flat-looking blockbuster, and it's a shame that with a director like Edgar Wright, we would get a film of this quality. The sauce emerges out of the pot for the first 10 minutes where we get some futuristic scenery and then sinks into the bottom of the shit pot where we end up getting generic-looking scenery lit by Amazon LED lights. There are definitely worse-looking movies like War of Worlds, Snow White, but I did not have it in me to suffer through those, but out of all the 3 films, the winner is in fact Captain America Brave New World. Just watch the final fight scene and come back and watch this video. Now the best looking film comes down to cinematography. The person behind the lens, making sure each image communicates with the audience about the setting, character, essentially the most important role in the production. Marty Supreme is an example of how good movies can still look, and granted that is because of the production team, but especially because of DP Darius Kongi, who is phenomenal. He sure knows how to shoot a thriller, as he did some of my favorite films such as Seven, Uncut Gems, and now Marty Supreme. Everything feels so grand in this film while also maintaining an indie-style filmmaking, and I can't think of many movies that feel like that. The choice to use close-up lenses to make the world he creates so suffocating. Adding that extra grain to show how filthy each of the characters he portrays are. Even a Netflix film can still look good, if in the right hands, and director Ryan Johnson and DP Steve Yeldon teamed up to put some of that gothic sauce that I like to eat in my cereal. The frames that use the red and blue overlays to immerse us into the flashbacks. The long camera zooms to have the viewer snoop into conversations. Despite the production restrictions from Netflix, this is able to look like a proper feature. Autumn Durrell shoots Sinners like a film we have never seen before. The 276:1 wide aspect ratio with the tall 143:1 IMAX scenes using actual 70mm IMAX cameras to create the scale of the world is a filmmaking achievement. Then you have Michael Bauman shooting a VistaVision picture fully for the first time since 1961, having colors shine more than ever. I saw it projected on 70mm, and it was truly one of the best film going experiences I ever had. Internationally, you have Woo Hyung Kim shooting a wild picture like no other choice, having absolutely wild camera movement in a classic Park Chan-wook fashion. Taking a standard digital format in the widescreen look, but framing scenes to show full backdrops, characters, nature, you name it, it's in the frame. It's hard to pick one and not feel like I'm doing the other films dirty, but as a filmmaking achievement, Sinners takes the cake for best cinematography as it blends the look of drama, action, horror, thriller. Okay, it's just cinema. Another important task is editing, how the film maintains its momentum and prevents you from going on your phone to watch Clavicular. One Battle After Another is nearly a 3-hour film, and I feel about an hour of it. Great blend of long dialogue scenes to intense action montages. It's everything a blockbuster runtime should feel. It's not just about pacing, it's about how each cut communicates with the story, and if you watch the desert chase scene, you will forget that you're even watching a movie. Sinners is another film that is a breezy watch despite having a large ensemble, is able to cut back and forth between everyone while focusing on the main characters. The cutting of the I Lied to You scene where it is able to look like one long continuous take is mise-en-scene at its finest. If you like a good transition, No Other Choice has it. A film that embraces its chaos but also slows down to build important character moments. If you haven't seen a Korean film, some of its editing might throw you off, but trust me, it works and it's a fun time. It's nothing you've seen before in the best way possible. You can't forget about the chaotic energy in a Safdie brother film, and Marty Supreme is elevated by Josh Safdie and Ronald Bronston's editing style, in which they also edited Uncut Gems and Good Time together. A lethal duo who are trying to bend your anxiety by creating this high that you have never felt before in a film. All great editing, but I can't help but to say that One Battle After Another has this year's best editing, and dare I say one of the best of all time. Part of the editing process is adding in music. This determines the mood of each scene and the story in general. A good needle drop hits hard, but having a great original score hits even harder. When you hear Cornfield Chase from Interstellar, you can't help but to imagine yourself in the Christopher Nolan sci-fi thriller. The same thing can be said when I hear Daniel Lopatin's score for his films. The guy loves his synths, and each score he does creates this high feeling just like a Safdie brother film, and this is just another partnership in making these anxiety-induced films so special. It's not just the synths. He adds a choir-like vocal to most tracks, almost like a crowd is chanting for these characters. Absolute chills, and the score for Marty Supreme and Uncut Gems are just a taste of the fantastic work he does. Johnny Greenwood is a legend in the music industry for not only being a part of Radiohead, but also scoring original music for films. My favorite film, There Will Be Blood, has such a sinister score that isn't doing too much, yet it intrigues the viewer. Part of that is because Greenwood utilizes string techniques with the violin, such as pizzicato, which the slow plucking of the instrument helps create a constant tension. In One Battle After Another, the piano dominates the score, and even to this day, I can't help but to hear it run through my head. Begonia is just another example of Yorgos bending modern filmmaking, and part of crafting his unique worlds is the music. Jerzy Fedriks did his thing with Poor Things. He also does his thing with Begonia's score, matching the tone of a Yorgos film, mixing unique instruments together to create this epic yet cynical tone. What makes it even more impressive is that he is able to score the film without a script. Most composers craft their score around the script of the film just so they know what scenes they're doing and matching the tone. Yorgos said fuck that and just told Fendrix 3 words before making the score: bees, basement, and spaceship. That's wild. Just like my next pick for best score, and that's Scott Derrickson's son, Atticus, who scored Black Phone 2. Black Phone 2 holds a special place in my heart for being what normally would be a cookie-cutter Blumhouse sequel into something that brings back this nostalgic fear with 80s horror, but told in a modern way. Atticus' score can be heard lingering throughout the film in this surreal Colorado winter camp that puts you in a dream state. It's very calm, especially during the Super 8 shot scenes, only to then turn into some of the most disturbing scenes I've ever seen. I can't wait to see more from Atticus. All great music, but then there's Ludwig with his score for Sinners, a vampire film that takes place in the Mississippi Delta of the 1930s that birthed the popularity of blues music. Changing culture forever has to have a score that matches its importance. Ludwig's score is rich with history, using instruments from that era with modern tools to create a fresh sound. It's earned as the story progresses with tension building ever so slightly until it all goes down in the juke joint. All of these composers are doing some of the best work right now, but Ludwig is truly on his own level, and Sinners no doubt is the best original score of this year. To this show, I've added another category, which is my favorite guilty pleasure. The highest regarded films are going to be the most important to culture over time, but how about a popcorn flick that doesn't do too much, and if it does something more to it, well, it's a nice surprise. To start off the year, Den of Thieves 2 was the perfect definition of a dad flick. Gerard Butler may not be an Oscar-winning actor, but his portrayal as Big Nick is amazing. I think the action scenes are shot really well in this film. There's never a time where I can tell that it's shot in front of a screen. And the story itself is not too bad. It's just a basic heist movie, but what makes it so special at the end is the plot twist. Just like the Now You See Me movies, which the third one does not have that same 2010s magic as the other two did, but it is still a fun heist movie that has a great ensemble. The additions of Dominic Sessa, Justice Smith, and Ariana Greenblatt helped bring new life into the series, and it was nice to see a film that didn't take itself too seriously, but still had something to say. A film series that goes all in on its ridiculousness, and the fact that I was finally able to see it on the big screen is such a blessing. Now, I'm not talking about Now You See Me, Now You Don't. I'm talking about Final Destination Bloodlines, because this film fucking rocked. Not just for being a guilty pleasure, but I think it's one of my favorite films of this year. Yeah, there's wonky CGI, lack of depth in certain characters, and unrealistic physics, but it is just so goddamn fun. Maybe it's just my sadistic brain talking here, but I was full on laughing in the theater. The way this film is able to build tension through its kills and always keep you guessing just makes for such a great watch. Bloodlines not only pays tribute to the other films, but expands the series and reminds audiences of what a good blockbuster is. My last pick is a film that I was fine with the hate bandwagon, but from initial looks, I had no interest in it. But then I realized that I had never seen a Celine Song film, and when I watched Materialists, I knew I was wrong. Oh boy, is this film cheesy, but I don't care. I loved it. Rom-coms are realistically my favorite genre, and this is one that does something unique with it, I thought. The acting, I wouldn't say is good in this film, but it actually works as the script is very straightforward. Characters' dialogue are very exaggerated to emphasize the absurdity of dating expectations, and now more than ever with social media playing a part in how relationships form, it's absolutely important. Song questions love going back to its roots, and through the love triangle presented, we see two opposing sides of what some might think love is. I love her camera work choices. She uses a lot of one takes, but then through those one takes, she'll slowly zoom into the subject. In the end of the day, I'm going to choose a film that has a piano falling on a little shit. Give me Final Destination Bloodlines as 2025's guilty pleasure. It's time to discuss categories surrounding characters. Some iconic ones were birthed this year, and then there's some that you question that were ever written on a big screen. Was AI on a lunch break, or did human writers shit the bed harder than Amber Heard? I introduced to you the worst written character category. So many you can name from this year, but you can't forget Sabra from Captain America Brave New World. Let's take our beloved Black Widow and replace her with an IDF agent. Hollywood wins, guys. Roll the post-credit scene. There's no inclusion for her, and considering the character's history in this day and age really makes me question the decisions being made at Marvel. She also serves no purpose other than to be annoying as shit. It's even worse when the main character of your film is more underrated than the goddamn dinosaurs. Tell me, one motivation for Zora Bennett in Jurassic World Rebirth. I'll wait. And by the time someone responds, Universal will have already made another Jurassic Park film. Nothing is as worse as when an adaptation fails to capture the lore of a beloved character, regardless of hero or villain, and decides to freeze-dry a lump of turd, throw it in the air fryer on max settings, and let the fumes of that shit infest the House of Blum. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is riddled with horseshit writing because the creator of the FNAF games is too busy donating his proceeds to right-wing chuds. Coffin literally throws Michael Afton in one or two scenes and expects the audience to get his motivations, which, sure, fans might get excited because of the lore, but movie-wise, what the fuck? There is no build-up or even hint of him being a part of the big finale, and even then is an awful attempt at trying to twist the story. How about having a horror sports film produced by Jordan Peele with writing as simple as the protagonist saying that he wants to be the GOAT? Was the script dropped off at an LA middle school the day before filming? Cam from him has as much personality as the football that spins in the beginning. But my god, the FNAF 2 writing is so bad, I have to put Michael in there. On that note of characters, this is a category that doesn't necessarily mean the best actor, but more so my favorite character or my MVP of 2025. Delta Slim from Sinners is just so funny, but also real when shit goes down, and his importance to the history before blues music broke out made me feel something deep. I don't know if it's me feeling must be the corn liquor talking. Speaking of drunks, or I mean stoners, Bob from One Battle After Another stole the show for me. He doesn't even do anything special to help the cause. I mean, he fucks up a lot, and if bro can't even remember the most important password, how do you expect him to save the French 75? Him just being there meant so much to the cause, and he is definitely a new favorite. It's not even just about being a likable character, but Marty Mauser carries the weight of Marty Supreme. He shows the harm of trying to fulfill this unreachable dream, and on the way, everyone else gets hurt around him. But damn, he is just so engaging on screen. Part of that goes into Chalamet's performance, but his character does everything possible to get to Japan. Just like me and the boys in the group chat. It's hard not to say that this is not one of the most fascinating characters that has hit the big screen in a while, and I couldn't help but to mention him. Judd Duplantis from Wake Up Dead Man is on a whole new level. Is it just Josh O'Connor that does it for me? I mean, my god. Oh fuck, sorry, Father. I didn't mean to use the Lord's name in vain. Just one of my favorite characters due to him not taking any bullshit and using religion to actually do some good in the church. I love the fact that this dude was just some violent boxer who is now on a path of redemption, but in his way, even being sent in the middle of Chimney Rock, he is still riddled with people trying to sabotage his title. Gwen from Black Phone 2 is one I would hate not to have mentioned, as she carries the weight of the Black Phone movies. Not just because of her ability to connect with the supernatural, but she has just so much personality. Her mouth is as clean as your drawers during COVID, and she has some of the best character moments in the film. Madeline McGraw's performance deserves more praise because she is able to make the audience laugh, scream, and cry. In Black Phone 2, she suffers the trauma that her brother Finney faced from the grabber, but this time in the dream world bound to create never-ending suffering. It's a close tie to my MVP, but I think Father Duplantis does it for me as my favorite character of the year, and in a series where the characters are so iconic, he might be the best character in Knives Out. What's more impressive is being able to write a good villain, and a lot of films fail to do that. I'm looking at you, Marvel, but DC was cooking when they wrote the new Lex Luthor. He was an absolute terror in Superman, not just tarnishing his reputation, but using his parents' own words against him. Many of these villains are bald on this list, including Aunt Gladys, who became a horror icon overnight. Her sadistic rituals to control people like voodoo dolls reminds me of that one episode of Fairly Odd Parents. Except Wong doesn't smash his lover's face into the ground. She not only served with her fits, but her one-liners, and nothing was getting in her way besides her own weapons.
Say that again?
On the subject of bald, Kevin O'Leary just plays himself in Marty Supreme, and that's all I have to say as far as why he's one of the greatest villains from this year. The vampire line had me petrified. He wouldn't be the only vampire on this list, as Remick from Sinners was another memorable foe. I mean, the guy just wanted to join the cookout and got shit for it, but it's not like he was a part of trying to colonize a black gathering space. The American system is the true evil, spreading prejudiced behaviors throughout marginalized groups such as the Irish. Remick is more so a figure of those effects. Then you have Stephen Lockjaw, who is just a simple man wanting to find his daughter while also being part of a Christmas Adventurers Club with a few of his buddies. He serves his country and represents all short kings. Oh, his level of evil makes me want to do the speed face. And not the please speed, I need this face. Lockjaw is another villain I will remember for a while for not just his soullessness, but determination to wreak havoc. Anytime he is on screen, you can feel his tension and are worried that he will snap and seriously hurt our main characters. When he does, it makes him all the more sinister because this is a guy that very well exists in America's political climate. Another hard one to pick from, but I feel that I can't pick another villain that is as sinister as Lockjaw. The magic does come down to its performers and how well they are able to make the audience believe that they are watching something beyond a movie. On the note of Lockjaw, Chase Infinity's performance as Willa was the perfect counterpart to Penn's aggression. She was badass and just as fierce, if not more than Penn, being able to drive a vehicle at full force with handcuffs on. Absolute robbery from the Academy for not nominating this woman, but a successful career is ahead of her. On the note of young actors who at this point is on his way to Unk status, Timothée Chalamet. Marty's Supreme Christmas Day has been an earworm spreading throughout the internet, and with such a big push for him to win Best Actor, I thought it was starting to get gimmicky. But Chalamet kills it in Marty Supreme, truly carrying the weight of the whole film, which goes to show how dedicated he is to his own craft. I've already shown my praise for Josh O'Connor, but he deserved a Best Actor nominee for playing Father Duplicity in Wake Up Dead Man. Just so much personality he brings to the table, and for playing someone who tends to be more modest, he shows off when he needs to. Another Academy robbery is for Lee Byung-hun, who is known as the frontman in Squid Games, but if you didn't know, he stars in No Other Choice, which is a great dark comedy about a man who was laid off from his company after 25 years, and now he is on a revenge quest to get his dream job. Just like Squid Games, he does some pretty twisted shit, but his performance in No Other Choice provided lots of laughs, but also concern for the well-being of blue-collar workers. His character also struggles severely with his mental health, trying to attend therapy, and the film shows that most men try to hide their struggles, specifically in a traditional heterosexual family where the male has to try to be the breadwinner. Michael B. Jordan has always been an actor I found to be captivating. He plays one of my favorite villains in the MCU as Killmonger, as well as Adonis Creed, and in Sinners, you mean to tell me that he's playing twins? It's not just for one scene, he is the main lead of the movie. Smoke and Stack have so many layers to them and are distinguishable thanks to Michael B. Jordan's range. Robert Pattinson did a good job at playing clones in Mickey 17, but something about what was happening in Sinners was on a new level because it wasn't just a gimmick, which I feared. It was being able to play two broken brothers trying to come together with their people for one night of fun. Hamnet is not necessarily one of my favorite movies of the year, however, the performance in it will shake your core. Jessie Buckley is a masterclass actress for how she is able to portray grief, but also tender love and hardship as not just a mother, but an independent woman. If her performance wasn't as good as it was, the film would not be what it is, and to that alone is a guaranteed lock for a win at the Oscars. I wanted to keep it fair and competitive by throwing the best lead performances together, and through looking at it all, I cannot help but to pick Michael B. Jordan. He is a part of one of the best American movies of all time, and his ability to balance the two roles, creating different dynamics between the large ensemble, makes him have the best lead performance of 2025. Every Batman needs a Robin, and supporting performances build an important dynamic to the story. Miles Cadden is such a key factor into Sinner's story, literally playing a young buddy guy who was a pioneer in the blues movement. Literally, in his debut film, like Chase Infinity, he puts on an Oscar-level performance, which is such a shame that he didn't get nominated for it. His vocals are on a whole new level, and the juke joint scene where he sings for the first time in front of everyone will go down as one of the best scenes in cinema. But you can't forget Sinner's great acting without Wunmi Mosaku, who just elevates the film even more with her performance. She is the smartest character, not trusting a single soul, as Mosaku betrays her superstition so well. There's a deep pain within her, but further down, a passion that burns so bright that she is determined to protect her people when it's most needed. Benicio del Toro, while not nearly as sincere as Mosaku's performance, his intentions justify his actions as he is a big help with keeping the revolution going. Del Toro pairs great with DiCaprio's comedic moments as the two of them are just some drunk stoners trying to help Willa. Del Toro is that guy you need at a party, or even that guy you need when there's a world-class emergency.
Courage, Bob. Courage.
Glenn Close has proven herself to be amongst the best, but she still delivers an all-time performance no matter what, and I loved her in Wake Up Dead Man. Again, no recognition from the Academy, but she was great showing the dedication to protect the name of the church. Along with that dedication, there is a sense of darkness, losing yourself, and doing things you normally wouldn't justify, but do so in order to preserve this idea. Close keeps you on your toes because there are times where she can be seen as the murderer and times where she is innocent. Call it a close one.
Yeah. Nuke the whole generation.
But no matter what age, you can still deliver an Oscar-worthy performance, and Jacoby Jupe in Hamnet is worthy of a Best Supporting nomination. No recognition from the Academy, which is surprising considering Hamnet has received a fair amount of nominations. While Jupe is in a small portion of the film, his screen presence is nothing but memorable. He is also so adorable, but also possesses the maturity of trying to protect his loved ones, showing even more care than his father, as literally he is doing anything he can to save his sister from a deathly disease. Jupe's talent to make the audience latch onto his character and feel all the emotional weight of a situation is powerful on a new level. His brother Noah also delivers a killer performance playing an older version of him in the iconic Shakespeare play. The brothers have a great career ahead of them. Another toss-up, but I'm picking Miles Cadden for how much he carries Sinners, and I would put him as the best leading actor, but that category is way too competitive. Actors add to the story with their expressions, actions, and words, but behind the camera, it is important to know who is orchestrating the play. So much goes into directing a great picture, whether it's production choices, how many cuts will roll. Park Chan-wook is one of the most underrated directors, and I am one who has chosen to not dive into his work until no other choice. His style is iconic. His choices to move the camera around in exaggerated ways, the ways characters talk and express themselves. It's perverted to say the least, but that's what makes it so fascinating. It's unpredictable the way he's going to shoot his next scene or what the characters are going to do. Rian Johnson is just another director known for creating unpredictable circumstances, and Wake Up Dead Man is a great addition to the Knives Out series, and it's all because of Johnson's ability to lock in. The last film was heavily criticized due to how good and iconic the first film was, but at times it felt more generic with its look. Johnson leans all into the gothic look, shooting cathedrals in such an expressive way, throwing in unbelievable camera movement, and much more. Ryan Coogler transforms the eyes of moviegoers with shooting Sinners on 70mm IMAX film using a wide aspect ratio to enclose the subjects for dialogue scenes, and expanding the frame for action or music scenes. I can't think of one film that looks as good as the way Sinners does. Every frame just feels so important. One of my all-time favorite directors in Paul Thomas Anderson returned to the big screen after one of my least favorite films from him, Licorice Pizza. One battle after another is another cinematic achievement, bringing back VistaVision. A decision made by only a filmmaker as passionate as Anderson, who is doing whatever it takes to immerse the viewer into the world he paints. Everything just feels elevated when he is in the director's chair. The decisions made by Coogler and Anderson are neck to neck as to who is the best director, but Coogler has created something special for movie audiences for years to think about, and he is my pick for Best Director. The final two categories are not going to need much explaining because I have gone over most elements within it, but this is the ultimate stamp of approval for the film. That does not mean that stamp is good, such as the worst movie category. Captain America Brave New World has so much bad in it, I couldn't omit it from this category. Just another example of Marvel being at its lowest, but it seems other projects such as Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four and even Wonder Man are trying to focus on actually trying to be good rather than setting up the next one. Captain America tries to focus on Wilson's story, but when nostalgia from The Incredible Hulk, which is already a bad film, mixes into the story, it's just a hot mess straight from Red Hulk's asshole. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 might be one of the worst movies I have watched, and no matter how good those animatronics look, it's just ideas stuffed together in a trash compactor, spitting out a monstrosity that no one should see. A Minecraft movie might take the cake for being a manufactured piece of film that strives for no creativity as it plays into every cliche that has ever existed. The cast has no chemistry, and that's probably because they have to imagine that they're in this animated world when they're standing in front of blue screens. Even if the sets are practical, the lighting and blending of subjects is an eyesore, and it's just a half-assed project to be amongst the highest-grossing movies of all time. Bad video game adaptations will never stop, and Until Dawn is a drag film with two-dimensional characters, no saucy direction, and that shocks me considering the director made Lights Out. And not the 2016 film, but the original short film that was on YouTube, which is so peak. It does not know if it wants to be horror or a mystery, but the feel and tone of this film is something that brings no interest. Going with a cabin in the woods format would work if it hasn't been done over a million times. It's just not memorable, but Odysseia Zion is. But no doubt the worst movie of the year is Five Nights at Freddy's 2. The last category, Best Picture. So many you could say are worthy of this nomination, but sticking to 5, even though best leading performances I had 6 in that category, sometimes you gotta break your own rules. Actually, this year I had a lot of movies that I found to just be alright. Maybe I'm more of a harsh critic, but I will say there were a handful of films from this year that I would go back and watch consistently. 2 films from this year will go down as some of the greatest films of the 21st century, such as One Battle After Another. I mean, do I need to explain myself more? Great veteran performances as well as breakout ones, smooth editing, memorable visuals, and adaptation done to perfection. Marty Supreme is one of the best films from this year, and it came to me as a surprise as I thought I wasn't going to capture the magic of the other Safdie brother films. Considering their departure after allegations are spreading about Josh during the production of Good Time, letting a 17-year-old actress, Talia Webster, get assaulted by non-professional actor / ex-convict Buddy Duress while cameras are filming. This has been reported from many sources on the production team. There's been no responses from either brother, nor any major news outlets reporting this besides your scoopers like Page 6, but if this is the case, and it's more than likely true considering the brothers were in their prime and then suddenly split. But this ultimately made me omit Josh Safdie out of the Best Director category. However, I want to give credit to everyone who worked on this production. This is a grand picture with so much great to dissect from it. It is a chaotic ride showing the young hustler Marty Mauser who is trying to climb his way to the top of the ping pong ball. This film feels so fresh even though it's technically a period piece, it doesn't rely on it and becomes timeless. You know what's timeless? Final Destination. I will never get over a good Final Destination film, and after a long 14-year wait, I was ready to step back into the series. This is nowhere close to even a good movie, but to me, I want to give it its flowers as much as I can because this film just knew how to stick to its guns and deliver a suspenseful raunchy flick about an invisible force trying to murder young adults. It doesn't have my favorite protagonists in the series, nor the cast is even that good, but the kills in this were memorable and some of them were the best in the series. I don't know, I was laughing out loud, clutching my pearls during certain deaths. Sue me, I'm a Final Destination lover. No Other Choice is just an unbelievable picture that introduced me into the world of Wook. I'm going to watch Old Boy, No Decision to Leave, all his work because I just can't think of anything like Wook's craft. I would say he's the Korean Tarantino, but even so he leans into more of a Fincher style. Screw all the drama from the Academy, I'm just going to go into my pick for the best picture, and that's Sinners. Filmmaking at its finest, need I say more? 70mm IMAX, Michael B. Jordan, Ludwig, Miles Cannon, Wunmi Masaku, Delroy Lindo, Haley Steinfeld, and so much more. Combine horror, blues music, action, thriller, and a black comedy? Come on, this is cinema. This is the film that I will have in my collection and put on once a year because it's a tradition. I watched it the most out of all the other movies from this year because there are so many ways to experience it, whether that was Dolby, Standard Digital, IMAX, 70mm, 70mm IMAX, or 35mm film projection. It's a different film each time because of all the techniques and formats it can blend into, and that's beautiful. That is the best movie of 2025. So many movies we discussed, yet I feel there are always more I can watch in a year. 2025 was not what I expected, as I thought blockbusters were going to be some of my favorites like Fantastic Four or Superman, but they ended up just being pretty decent. But studios like Warner Brothers, who took on original projects that weren't guaranteed to make a splash, ended up succeeding, and now hopefully we can get bigger budgets for original ideas rather than $300 million to write Israeli propaganda figures. The Oscars seem to be one of the best in years, but I guarantee you someone will get snubbed hard. Rumors are going around that Kate Hudson might win it all for Song Sung Blue. At that point, nominate Nicole Kidman for the AMC ads. I'm looking forward to 2026 as lots of big films are set to come out, but I'm looking forward to the breakout films. I'm looking at them Sundance pictures that should hopefully have good marketing and campaigns to get the recognition that they deserve. I think my most anticipated movie, believe it or not, is probably Digger or Dune 3. Doomsday we'll have to see. Geez, lots of D's for 2026, but why don't you get D's thumbs on that subscribe button if you like what you're seeing? Other than that, enjoy the ride.